Hello and welcome to another edition of the Chapter Chats from my book, Stories from Webb, a book I wrote with my team over at Webb Elementary as an opportunity to amplify everybody's voice. This week, I wanted to talk about Chapter 14, which is the chapter Everyone Matters. When I started thinking about writing stories from Webb and my whole reasoning behind it, I wanted to make sure the voices that were amplified throughout this book were not just the voices of the teachers, because so often what we can get caught up with on any education staff is that putting so much focus onto the kids and the teachers that we forget everybody plays a role in the success of those kids' lives, whether it's the librarian, the custodians, the instructional aides, and the parents and families and community members. Everybody plays a vital role. And so for this chapter, and specifically, I wanted to really focus on some of those other voices. The first story that is in this chapter is from our nurse, Rebecca Madison. I have known Becky Madison for many years now. I actually taught her granddaughter, and it was neat when I came to Navasota and was able to beg Becky to come with me to be our school nurse. And in this, she kind of talks a little bit about that journey and what it's like being a school nurse and how she feels that it's the most rewarding job she's ever had because she's worked in an ER, she's worked in all these other kinds of places dealing with healthcare. But she says, what I love what she says is she says, my goal is for our kiddos to remember Miss Madison as the best school nurse ever. But I also want them to know that they are loved and special and that they matter to me. And I love that line because what's so special about our school nurse, Miss Madison, is that the amount of money that she spends out of her own pocket to take care of kids and how nobody would ever know because she does it so under the radar. Whether that is a kid coming to school with dirty clothes and she knows that they come like that, and so she has clean clothes waiting for them. And as they're at school that day and they've changed the clean clothes, she uses our life skills washer and dryer to wash the clothes so she can put them back on their all original clothes before they go home. She goes and buys toys and gifts and shoes and snacks, and she just loves these kids. But also more than that, she loves the staff and the way she takes care of, and when teachers are out sick, how she'll call on them, and just such a big heart that I know that our school would not be the same environment without having someone like that. And some could say the nurse is an insignificant role on a campus, but when I look at our campus specifically, I think no, if I didn't have somebody as our school nurse like Becky Madison, there would be huge gaps that we would have to fill, and certain kids who don't feel as recognized or loved by others, they're gravitating towards the nurse. And it's just so special to watch the way she always interacts with kids and staff with complete love. Another person who wrote for this chapter is our librarian, Haven Wisnowski. Haven is a spitfire and full of energy. She talks about how her uniqueness to Webb is the fact that she's grown up in Navasota, and she always wanted to be a teacher, so she taught for many years before becoming the school librarian. And she talks about how special it is to be at one place for that long, where not only do you get to celebrate these kids as they're growing up through school, but when you've been there for so long, then you also get to celebrate their parents, or you get to meet the kids that you serviced 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. As they become parents, then you get to service their kids, and serve their kids. And it's just, she says, I've developed a sense of fulfillment like that of a mom to so many students over the years, and my heart swells with love and pride when I get to see my former students in action, working in various places around town, or when I see them with their own kids walking into school every day. And I love the passion that she brings towards reading. And again, another staff member that is vital to the heartbeat of the campus and making sure that you want kids to fall in love with books. And often the first time they have that special interaction in that room filled with books is that library. And I love to say, I want the library to be the heart of the school. I want that to be where all the imagination, creation, excitement stems from. And I love that our kids get to visit the library every single week uninterrupted. But finally, we have one more in here as well, and her name is Mara Pavlok. And she has been a special education aide for the last 10 years in our program called PPCD, which is our youngest kids with disabilities. And she serves them so well. What I love about her story is she says that the first teacher that she worked with, she said, taught her herself that her self-worth was more. She said, let me just read it. I first worked with a teacher who actually taught me that my self-worth was worth more than any college degree she could ever earn. And what does she mean by that? She says that she remembers that after only being there for a few months, the teacher went to her and the other two instructional aides and said, you know what? I've got a master's. You two, y'all could work here or as Walmart greeters, but I've got the college degree. And how that just hit her in a hard way. And, she said, I've always been one about my tongue, but goodness, I'm glad I did that day. And, I think about the role that so many of our instructional aides play, whether they're pre-K aides in the classroom, in the front office, or in one of our special education classes. Their roles are so vital too, and they may not have the college degree or the other accolades that some certified teachers celebrate having, but they play a vital role. And without them, the ship would not run as smoothly as it does. And I love how she talks about watching her students in PPC grow and change. But one of my favorite one is, she said, another of my little girls came in with hearing aids. Her mom was frustrated because she kept taking them off and losing them on purpose. She said, as time went on, I shared with this little girl that I also wore hearing aids. I told her I would never not want to wear them because I know what I'm missing out on. She said it took a little encouragement and convincing, but she eventually stopped losing her hearing aid. And then the last story she shares, she said, and yet another student, a little girl with Down syndrome, would always sing herself to sleep. She says this was many years ago, and to this day, I still hear her humming in my memories of her. And I just think that's so special to watch every adult that comes on a campus fall in love with the kids and serve them and serve their families. And that's when it reminds me that it doesn't matter what title you're given. It doesn't matter the education that you have. What matters is, do you show up every day ready to serve the kids, their families, and your coworkers? Because it's not just serving the kids. Yes, that's huge and that's important. But how are you serving their parents when they come in and they have emotional needs that they are dealing with from their children? Or how do you serve your colleagues when they are also struggling? Do you reach out? Do you surprise them? Do you do little acts of kindness that do not bring the attention back to you? Because I think sometimes we can get caught up in this whole idea of recognizing others, but really it's bringing attention to us. So my thing is, how can you bring recognition to others without bringing the attention back to yourself? Because every single person on your campus plays a very vital role in making sure, whether that is the custodian, the people who serve breakfast and lunch, the instructional aides, librarian, nurse, front office staff, whoever it is that comes and serves on the campus each day. Let's make sure that we recognize each of them and let them know just how valuable they are, and how when you want to truly grow a magnificent campus, you remember that everyone matters. Again, that was chapter 14 from my book, Stories from Webb, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble now. Have a great week.